problem.
There's no problem. In fact, I will turn off our videos. If I can find, there it is. Okay, yep, there we go.
Okay, now let me give you an overview here. I've got some other things. We've done, let me show you. This is the very first one we did, this floodplain.
Yeah, all
And
right.
we got that from the West Virginia flood tool. And actually I did this one on styles too, but I didn't have to bring it in. It had already been done by Dewberry. I simply had to, I had access to their file and I just used it.
Right, I remember that one, yeah.
So I can close that. And I can close Gibson. And we're in Putz. Now let me show you one. Okay, this is the tax map, and the part I'm doing a merger from this parcel to this parcel, a boundary line adjustment,
All right,
because these folks want to improve their access.
yeah,
So I've got two streams coming through it. And if you look at, and this creek, this is Opeckin Creek.
okay,
And if you look at the flood tool, this is what it looks like.
gotcha.
And I'm doing this
You've
parcel.
got, yeah, you got multiple zones, huh? You've got-
Well, really, all I have to do, I think, is show zone A. I'm not completely sure what this yellow zone is. I've been looking for a something that tells me that, but I haven't seen it.
Well, if the AE is the floodway, that's the crosshatched bit. And then the zone.
Yeah, okay, right. Then
So
this is
and
zone
that
A.
zone, yeah, that zone AE label right up above your mouse there, I think that's, I think that's supposed to be over in the middle. It's like if
Over
you back up one level in Zoom, just back out. See how it,
Yeah,
oh, of course, I don't know.
yeah, I think you're right. I think the hatched one is the AE is the floodway,
Yeah, I do know that, but
and it's just moving over.
I think
Yeah, it's still hatched all the way up to here.
yeah, I wonder what that, let's see, do you have? Look under your reference layers, see if there's a legend, or maybe one of these tools up here and see if there's a legend. Address parcels. See that show legend? Yeah, do that.
No legend.
Okay, there's no legend.
So let me,
What's your flood pull down look like?
just 100-year and 500-year.
Okay.
Well, I'm not really concerned about what the yellow is. I'm curious.
Yeah.
But for my purposes, if I showed the A zone,
It looks almost like maybe it's an update. You see how they've widened it out, but, or, well, I don't know. Well, you know, one might be historical and one might be more recent.
yeah, I would assume that the red one would be more recent, although I don't. Oh, high risk advisory flood zone.
Ah, there you go. And that looks, well, now that zone AE up there is, looks like that is AE, but I don't see where it goes from AE to zone A.
Well, I still think that's just a map thing. I don't think I mean, I've been out there and looked at it, and it's inconceivable that this is part of the floodway.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think the Opeckin could ever get that high up over the bank. It would tend to go this way rather than probably the only reason this is in the floodway is because of the curve of the stream. would be
All
my guess. Anyway, so that's the exercise for today.
right, now I'm taking a peek here at this. The special flood hazard areas are labeled as zone A, AO, AH, A1 through 30, AE, A99, AR, blah, 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 blah. Well, it doesn't tell me. So what does zone AR/AE? Zone A, see, it doesn't tell me that that's the flood way.
Oh, it does over here.
Yeah, that's why I just wonder if zone AE by itself, like you see up there on the other part, is a separate designation from zone AE floodway. I don't think that floodway is a synonym for zone AE.
No, I think you're right. I think a zone AE is one where there's been a study and there's actually an elevation has been determined.
Ah, okay.
And a zone A is without a base flood elevation. A zone AE is with a base flood elevation.
There we go. Let's see. Yeah, special flood hazard areas are high risk, either with an A or a V. Moderate to low risk would be C or X. All right, so A with the E, and then the high risk advisory. Yeah, I don't know how you would need to, do you need to put, I guess, both of those on there, right?
Well, no, not really. I mean, I don't
Okay.
know where zone AE. I mean, I can't see what separates zone AE from zone A here. So
Right, but you've got that high risk advisory, that yellow. Wonder what that. Yeah, see, because the thing that you click, that blue outline, that's the whole, is that
that's
a,
the whole parcel.
oh, okay.
That's the whole property.
And it's flood zone A. Well, I mean, I guess if you need to adjust whatever you label it, that's fine, but let's get the lines in there. Is the more important part.
Yeah.
So let's
I
see.
mean, it's going to be, I'm going to label it as approximate anyway and tell them if they want a more exact determination, they need to have a elevation certificate.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is outside the scope of my work.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Let's see. Flood zone. Hang on a second. I'm doing trying to do some real quick look up here. Problem is they give me little snippets out of a map panel, but they don't. They're high risk zones A, AOAH. Special flood hazard areas.
Well, we don't need to get too deep
Okay.
in the weeds.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, I'll let you figure that part out if you need to. Like, and you're right, it is outside your scope. And if you just cite the source of this information as your West Virginia mapping service or whatever it is, West Virginia flood tool, I think that should be
Yeah.
sufficient. Okay, so
So do we use the cut and snip to bring this in?
yeah, so what you want to do, how far up does your property go? Is it up there off the screen a little ways still, right? Okay, just
It's
zoom
basically
in.
that and.
Yeah,
and
okay, so
that.
yeah, all right, so zoom in as close as you can while still seeing all of your property. All right, that looks good.
About it.
Now I would click. You don't, yeah, there you go. You don't need to have a parcel selected, but it won't hurt it. So I would take this then and save that like you normally do for a location map.
Where did my snip tool go?
Right
There.
yeah.
Okay, where did it go?
Go over to that rightmost icon. The rightmost icon down on the status bar.
There.
Or not all the way over, right? Right under Esri Street Map on the mapping label, center of the screen. Right there. That's it. All right, so now it says, there you go. And then
Okay. Let me make sure I get what I'm looking for here. Okay, so I've got to go all the way over to here.
yeah,
That should be far enough, I hope.
yeah, and go up to get the top of your property. Go all the way.
I missed the bottom part of the bottom property. So that's not going to work.
All right, so try that. Just close that and then try it again. There, yeah, there you go.
Hard to see once it gets highlighted like that.
Yeah.
For me, it is anyway.
There you go. And now, all right, should do it.
And I go save. Carlson. I want to call this a floodplain. Save it.
Ready?
And close this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, leave that open and just minimize it for the time being in case we need it again.
Right. Now go back to your model tab so we can do this out in regular space. And so let's go off to the side. We're gonna, first of all, you want to select the boundary of your parcel or boundaries, whichever it is. That, yeah, go ahead and get you'll get that top one too if you want to, I think. There you go. All right. And now let's copy that and we're going to put it off to the side, just like we're doing a location map. So we're going to copy that and we'll click a place to start from here and go to there. Just put it off to the, yeah, go out a ways. You want to be far enough away so that it doesn't show up on your other mapping. There you go. Okay, now go ahead and we're going to use that to do our scaling. So now we're going to insert the image And we're going to put it somewhere here. Very good. Excellent. Okay. All right, so I would click a point just anywhere there, and then now instead of hitting enter there, drag your mouse up and to the right. Yeah, you want to make it, there you go. That's sufficient. So it's going to be that scale. Go ahead and hit enter, and now hit enter for the rotation. All right, so now you can close that, and let's select that and send it to the back. Okay, now we're going to need to align this with your red lines that you moved over.
So move it.
Well, you could do all that, but there's a Carlson tool that makes it somewhat easier. If you look on the edit menu and come down to right, almost one more right there, and do a 2D align. Okay, now you're going to select the things you want to align. That's the map. Just the map. There you go.
Floodplain.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. All right. Now you're through selecting, so hit enter. Now, it's going to ask you to pick a point number, but you see the line above, it says the first source point. So it's going to ask you a source point and a destination point, and then another pair, source and destination. So keep your eye on the prompts. And what you want to do is you want to click a point on the image. Now remember, it's not going to snap to anything here. So just get it as close as you can seem to find it. You know, zoom in tight if you want. And there you go. And click that. And now where does that go? Now that should snap. Put it over the corner there of that. Yeah, like that. So click that. Now it says second source point. So you're going to get another one. Now you can either do that one, or you can look like maybe diagonally across the map, something farther away, because it's not going to be exact. And you want, it's like doing a short backside. You want to, now be careful, because if you click there, it's going to make sure it's not snapping. But to see if you come down to that lower left corner of the property, somewhere in there, like where is your, on the map now, where is the corner that you've got a corresponding point drawn with the red lines?
Well,
yeah, like zoom in, and you see that, you see where the, yeah, where
there.
that line goes. Yeah, but go either that point or the one just a little to the left of it, whichever one that corresponds to in your survey. That look good. All right, now let it snap to when you come down and grab the red line. No, you don't want it to be perpendicular. Yeah, like that. Now, it's gotten those 2 points, and it says you want to scale the objects based on those alignment points. And you do want to, you want to say yes. If you didn't, all it would do is just set the rotation. But we also want to make it scale. Okay. So now zoom in and look around your properties and see that it's close. Make sure it's, you know, I see it's somewhat close up there where your source point is. Here, in fact, let me do this a second. I'm going to request remote control. I'm going to let you do it though, but I'm going to, just in case I need it. So now, you can maybe do this over again and like maybe use, say see this point in here, maybe line that one up and this one, or if this one down here corresponds to that one, I would try a couple of these alignments just to see where you can get a little better fit. And it's not going to be perfect, and it doesn't matter. But like if you repeated the command,
I just hit the space bar. Repeat the
yeah,
command.
there you go. Now select the entity. There's that. All right, and hit enter to conclude your selection. Okay, now when it says pick a point and point number, now be careful because you're close to your drawn geometry. So you want to make sure that you turn your snaps off when you pick that. There you go. So I would zoom in there on that black corner, click there, and then go down and now let it snap. There you go. So there's the first one. Now go get the second pair. And, maybe that went up in the bend point, or,
There.
Yeah. There you go. And say yes again to that. And then scroll out a little bit and let's see how that fit and around the corners. Looks pretty good across the top and down that right edge, but there you see how it misses on the bottom.
Yeah.
In there. So, and there's no real way. I mean,
well, this is probably as good as I'm going to get. So
yeah. So I would say that is. Now, what you need to do is at this point, we've got to draw these edges in. And so I would set up, some layers. I would say, zone AE, zone A, or, floodway.
okay.
Do you have the streams actually shown on your mapping, or will you need the stream banks?
I don't need the banks. I need the thread of the stream.
Okay, so I
Uh,
would. Well, I don't think you don't have the thread on the big one. I think you'd have to put the banks in there on the, what is that, Opacon or whatever that is.
Peckin Creek.
Opeckin, yeah, I don't know. I can never remember how to say that. It's really,
A lot of people struggle with it. Most people pronounce it exactly like you did.
yeah. Well, Diane used
Especially
to work with a
from
gal.
New England.
Diane used to work with a gal that had a master's degree in engineering. And she talked about how she and her fiance were they were buying a house that was down on Potomac Street. Diane said, Potomac? I said, how do you spell that? I said, don't you mean Potomac? And she, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed that she said that. I've never missed that before. But anyway, so now yeah, let's take another quick gander here at something. I'm gonna try this one more time just because I think our area of interest. might be a little more critical around these edges. I wonder if we can get that a little bit more like there to there. And then no, I'd say that might be it. Now let's see if we can't. I'm not well pleased with this in here because the problem I have with this is because we're going to show a floodplain this close to the property line. And it may be, up here instead of down here. But
No, it's actually pretty close to that property line. The bank gets it's flat, like in a floodplain, and then it gets very steep going up to the
Right,
property line. Would never get to the property line, but I mean, it's quite a hill. And it would be more realistic, and the buildings are up on a high hill. So there's no way it could be as close to the buildings as we're showing it.
all right, let me see here. And if we do that, and then well, what? Okay, let's try this one more time now. Now, when we go from here to here, and then from here to here, it sort of gets that geometry okay, but then up here, you see, that's like way too out of whack. All right, so let me take a,
Maybe we need to separate the two parcels. Maybe we should almost have two floodplain drawings.
let me see.
A lot of distortion in the drawing, in the floodplain map.
Well, that fits down there pretty nice. With all right, so 23,000.
Well, that's probably good enough for what.
Let's see here. Yeah, that's not. I was wondering if I could find.
That's completely off now.
Yeah, I know. 3,000. And if I go from Needs to be just a little bit smaller. I was trying to find a nominal scale, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to. 20. Hang on. There we go. Mm. Yeah. Just a skosh. Let's try. Let me see something quick here, Michael. Did we have a scale indicated on this? We did not. Up down here. 1 to 4514. So what is 5? I don't think this will make. No. All right, so there's nothing. Let's see if I take 27. All right, now. No. Let's see. All right, so if now if I scale that from here by reference, here to here. No. All right, so now if I go from here by reference, here to here to here. No. Yeah, it's just stupid. Well, let me select it. There we go. This needs to be. About as good as I think we're gonna get it.
Yeah,
So we'll put a save on that. And now the matter of tracing out these edges. And I think if, you could put them all on a single layer called floodway, but I would, or, flood boundaries, but I would make a series of layers, like, let's just do this. We're going to make,
okay, well, I've got a floodplain layer.
yeah, but yeah, see, we're gonna want to make sure we can get the edges. Because if it's all on the same layer, we're gonna get confused as to which line goes to which
No, I was
thing.
just gonna suggest we call it floodplain AE, floodplain A.
Yes, yes. So we'll call that AE, and we'll just let that be our first one. And then we'll make a new one called floodplain A. We'll make another one called floodplain. Oops, Opicon, did I spell it right?
Yeah,
Opicon edges. And we'll make another one called floodplain high risk, whatever that orange one was. I forget what it was called. And then one more. Oh, you know what? Don't need that one. I think instead of Opicon edges, let's just call this stream edges. And
then we need one called Hopewell Run.
well, that's what I'm gonna, because we're gonna do Hopewell as a single line, right?
Yeah,
And then the Opicon will have the edges, but those can be on the same layer. I just want to see that, and that's why I changed that to just say floodplain stream edges.
okay.
All right, and then so now,
Okay, and the high risk, I don't really think I want to show that because that's
Oh.
not really in my
all right,
scope either. I mean, this is just,
okay, all right. So let's find our floodplain. Well, we'll get our rid. Well, let's change. All right, so now the high risk we can leave as 148. Let's do all of these for right now.
okay,
We'll just make continuous. We'll change that as we need to. Let's give these different colors. High risk will be fine. Let's make that red. AE, since it's not quite so high risk, we'll make sort of yellowish. And A is even. Well, we'll give it sort of a pinky color. All right. So now you're on the stream edges and it's current. So now we can, do polylines and set those lines in. There's a couple of ways to draw these. Polylines you can do, there's a command in your CAD system called sketch. But in fact, if we come down there, I'm going to turn off your snapping. I went down here to turn that off.
Okay,
And I'll turn off the snap tracking as well. Now, here's the way sketch works. Sometimes if you need to do that, you see it's right up here, it shows you that it's a freehand.
oh, you typed it in there, okay.
Yeah, and here's what it does. It lets you draw a freehand, and you basically, you're going to give it a distance when it comes up, the length of the segment. See, right there is by default, and you'll give it a length so that it's basically every time you move the mouse and it goes bigger than that length, it puts down a point. Okay.
Okay,
But you don't click anything except from where you start and stop. So if we say sketch, now length of segments, I'd say, probably, 20 feet is more than sufficient. It says press enter to end / pen down or to begin. So if I say enter, now the pen is down. Now watch what happens as I move. Oops, said nothing recorded, sorry. Maybe I have to start.
is it doing something? I can't see it.
No, let me see. What's going on with that sketch? I think the segment is 20. Press enter to end. P for pen down. Maybe that's what I need to do is P. There we go. It's now sketching. And so now if you move like this, and I'm not clicking anything, I'm just moving the mouse.
Yeah,
And then you hit enter and it, and it keeps you in that sketch mode. I don't know why my cursor hasn't changed. Oh gosh. It also, there's another setting because it took everything as individual lines. Let's see if I sketch. Determines. No, not that. Oops. Sketch increment is that. Well, There's a setting, I think, that you can tell it to make a polyline instead of. All right, so enter the pin down, enter the pin up, quit, delete, connect straight to cursor, right to drawing. Well, here, yeah, see, and you can do your polylines. Well, that just goes back to the polyline tool. Now, anyway, Michael, just to have shown you that as to what it does, just to say, but it's probably not as easy to do as just doing a polyline draw in this regard. If you do a standard old draw 2D polyline, now I'm going to make sure that I'm I don't have this autocorrect on, and I'm going to say use my current drawing properties because I'm on that floodplain stream edges.
Okay,
And say, okay, now I'm just going to sort of generalize this. I'm going to put, and I'm going to generalize drawing chords. And I'm going to go from, say, there to there, across to here to maybe in here, then across to there, across to there. I think maybe there. Across to there. Whoops. Well, I interrupted it somehow or another. All right, so I'm going to go across to there, and then across to there, across to there, across there, and there. Now, once I have those sort of major PCPT points, when you select it, and then if you hover the mouse over one of the midpoint grips and convert to arc,
yeah,
you can see how very quickly you can sort of get that thing sketched in there. Now, at this point, these, this polyline is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points in it, whereas what we did with the sketch command would probably have had 5,000 points by that, by the time you got around to this stage. And you can always, use this, you can fine tune, like at that point, it's not quite where you want it to be. So to move it, just grip at it. And if you need to add a vertex because, to try to make it match a little better, if you've missed one, it's just real simple to do. And it finally became an easy enough exercise once AutoCAD developed that the ability to do those grip edits and convert to arc and all of that. Like right in here, I'm going to say probably I'm going to add a vertex right there and keep that one squarish. And I'll move this one back to there. Convert that to an arc. All right, so so that quickly you've got that one in. We'll put the other one in. And you can do it by, you can offset it and then adjust all of those things, or just do what I did the first time to draw around. So there's our first one. And then we're going to go through and, draw this floodway in.
so I
Okay.
don't really need the floodway on that. I only need it on my property side. I don't care to show it on the other people's property.
Oh, well, what I was going to suggest when we put this in here, instead of just, of course, you can let me know. I was going to maybe do a hatching within the zones. But let me take a look at this over here. Because see, it's going to be around, you can see on yours, but this you want to just leave it completely off, right?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, so then yeah, we didn't really need to go all, all the way around there, but it didn't take that long to do that. So we'll do this other one here. And then now I'm trying to figure out what this is though, because I've got. All right, looks like that's the zone AE boundary. It was Sobel. So, yeah, so it looks like maybe there's the zone AE boundary. Oh, gosh. Well, no, this is the floodway. This is the AE boundary out here. I'm trying to see, you see that yellow? Or maybe that's supposed to represent the center of the creek, or I guess,
I think so. I think that's like the center of the creek.
okay. Well, in that case, you think that, you think we, excuse me, you think we only need to show the center on your map? We don't need the banks?
Probably not.
All right. So. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't really recognize that as to what it might be the first time. So that'll save us a little bit of effort. All right, so that goes there, and now at that point, that departs our property all the way out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it probably is a good idea to hatch that area between the center of the stream and the zone A.
Yeah, we can, yeah, that's what I'm saying, because you're gonna get, it's a little too, like on the last one that we did where you had the dots and the dashes as the line work, that was pretty clear because it was really just one single envelope, but you've got multiple zones here.
Right.
So that's why, all right, so let's, so what I'm gonna do is, so once we come off of that there. All right, so that's all we'll need for the stream. And so we'll just, trace this, excuse me, trace this around. We won't go any further down this way. And we'll get those edges in. All right, so now there's the Opequon. Did I get it? Opequon, not Opequon. Opequon, wow.
Second.
So one of these days, Diane and I stopped and looked at, there's that state park there right down below, on 522 down, what is that? Used to be called Bath. What's that town called?
Berkeley Springs.
Berkeley Springs, thank gosh. It's been so long since I used to drive through there like twice a week. But anyway, we stopped and looked at the state park is down, between there and where 522 runs into whatever the next segment where it divides before it heads on down to 81. But well, you know where it is. But anyway, we looked at that, thought might be a nice little weekend getaway for us. Nice little place.
Yeah.
All right, so now we do this other and we'll stay, oops, 2D polyline, and we'll stay there. We'll go from might as well connect it up, and then we'll go let's see, there, there, there. And I'm getting too far away from it here. There, to there, to there, to there. And you got to maybe right there, to there. Of course, you do know the engineer in me. It's just, oh my gosh, I need to go out there and survey those things on the ground and get them exactly to the gnat's eyelash kind of stuff. And I know better than that, but it's part of my OCD, which I don't.
Nobody's willing to pay you to do that
That's the truth.
because they don't care. And for their purposes, they're right.
Right. Oh yeah, and that's very true, because really, this is not intended to be a risk map. This is really the intent of this designation on your map, is to simply raise somebody's awareness that, okay, if they need to get in tight with it, they'll need to go and study it a little closer with a different set of tools.
Right.
So.
And these people are, this is a very wealthy family. This is kind of a family compound that basically live in
Yeah.
Florida, in what's the name of the big beach down there?
Daytona?
Miami Beach.
Or Miami. Okay, yeah.
And they come up here in the summertime. They live here in the summertime. The whole family.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know how they got their money, but it's obvious that they've got a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it's been in the family for quite a while. I guess their grandfather got it. And so all of the grandchildren who are in their 60s now all come up here and spend the summer.
Well, it's a nice place to come to.
And then go back to Florida in the winter.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, because it's hotter than blue blazes down there in the summertime, and it gets cold up here in the wintertime. All right, so now you got your stream edges in there. So now what was the other? We've got the A and the AE and the floodway.
Well, and I guess the hatched area is actually the floodway.
Right.
So we'd need an edge for it, and then an edge for the And the floodway we'll actually call is an AE zone, and the
Yeah.
plain pink unhatched would just be the A zone.
Zone A. Yeah, all right, so what we'll do there then is we're gonna draw these as little envelopes. We're just kind of clip them off outside the edges here. So we can just start here.
Okay, wait a minute, we don't need that,
Oh,
that side. Just the side where our property is.
oh, you're gonna use the,
Yeah.
you're gonna use the property as the other edge. Okay, good.
Right.
And also I forgot, we need to make this we didn't call it floodway.
AE, I think is what we're calling it. Aren't we?
There we go. AE. Yep. All right, so we're gonna go from nearest there, and we'll just jump across to there. Let me go to there, come down, and end right there. All right, so that'll color that in. And then we've got
Zone A.
zone A. And so this one will be a little bit outside of that one. We're gonna go from, say, there to there. Keep that. So it gets a little touchy. All right, now let me do something here a second, just so we can see a little better. All right. So there's that one, and that will go Way out to there. And I think this will. Go like that. See, I can get that across like that. And this is not your property down here, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It's, we'll go ahead.
Now, one thing that that really helps this process go a little more smoothly is when you're doing this is just, you know, because I always work with my snapping on. But when you're doing this kind of stuff, you know, you'll be having to say none all the time. So make sure you turn your snapping off, and then when you go back to your normal work mode, you can turn your snapping back on. And there we go. All right, so now we are there and there, and we're gonna need to put this little edge in. And let's just make this quick.
Shouldn't at the top, shouldn't it go to the, well, I don't know, I guess I should ask not, shouldn't it go to the green line or whatever that is rather than the red line? Because the green lines are actually our property.
What greens? Which
Well,
green?
looks green to me, but let me have the mouse here for just a second. Let me show you. Shouldn't it go up to this line?
Well, that's from the image, remember? The red line is the actual property line.
Okay, okay. I was confused. I was thinking
Yeah.
that
No, that's right. That's right. And technically, you know, the image, we should, you know, maybe we should scoot it down in that corner.
No, that's probably good enough for what we're doing.
All right. Now, the reason I'm snapping, you might see me occasionally when I do nearest, so I can get on these red lines. So
Yeah.
when we hatch, it's going to not leave a little hole in there. All right, so that's that. That'll come all the way down to there. So that's all we need on that one, I think. Or is this also, this is also yours, right?
Yeah, so I just need that one edge.
So we need
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, what am I doing here? There we go. Okay. And I think that's it, right?
I believe.
Did we got that one, okay. We had the stream, then we've got the property lines. Okay. So now we'll leave this over here, but we're going to select our line work here. What else do I need? That one and this one. And that's it, right?
I believe so.
All right, so now I'll turn my snapping back on. And we will copy those things from this corner to this corner. And that's now ready to do some hatching with.
Okay.
All right, so when you do your hatching, like, I don't know if these things are like, yeah, you just make sure, when you select these boundaries, you make sure that that the endpoint of this line lies exactly on the endpoint of this line. That has to be done. Because if you leave a little hole in there, it'll mess it up. So now I guess all we need to do is figure out how we want to indicate this. This is the flood way
Yeah, or zone AE.
over to the boundary.
Yeah.
And then zone A. Again to the boundary. And so our stream center lines, we're not even going to be concerned with them. All right, so
Well, we're gonna label it as a
yeah,
technical.
yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to be concerned with them in terms of doing hatching.
Right.
So what I would do then is,
And we'll want to change the line type on the.
sure, yes, yeah, we'll do all that too. But so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sit on this yellow, the zone AE layer. So make object layer current. So now I'm on floodplain AE. I'm right here. Okay. Now, the part that gets hatched is between that line and the red property line. So what I'm going to do, since I've already set on that layer, I don't want to dance my way around all this other stuff, but I'm going to isolate the things that I want and do my hatching. Actually, you know what? I need to do this layer first. because this layer all the way out to here, that zone, I mean, that underlies the entire thing. And then this layer is an overlay zone that overlays that zone A. You follow me?
Yep.
So what I want to do now then is to isolate those things. So I'm going to go to my view menu and show hide by selection. And I'm going to isolate by selection. I'm going to select this and this, make sure I get all of them that I need. So there to there. Oh, I see one thing I got to do to be able to do that. I need to do that from there to there. There we go. And the reason why, because I'm going to turn this thing off for now, because I'm going to hatch in all the way over to here, but I needed to close this off and I wasn't closed off with that one. So now back to view and show hide. We're going to isolate by selection. We'll select these lines. And these. Goes all the way around to there. Are both of these?
Are both of them what? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, this is all going to be one parcel because there were some other lines in there, but that's fine. All right, so
There's a merger parcel there that's gonna get merged with the top piece, but that's okay. The floodplain's on the whole thing.
I got you. Okay, so now, so what we'll do is we'll get it so we can see everything. And we're going to hatch. So, and I'm going to make this hatch a solid. And we'll make it it probably needs to be a little darker. There we go. And I'm going to pick internal points. So if I pick here and then bummer. There's a gap in there somewhere. Now if I trim. That should have Should have recognized that. Don't know why it didn't. Let's see if I pick. There we go. All right, so there's our zone A. And let's make sure we send it to the back. I think it's done there now. So now we're going to turn back the stuff that we turned off, and we're going to now isolate that, and that's it. And then we're going to hatch. But this time we'll use that. And we'll set that to a darker scale. Probably need to be at least 20. We'll see if we have to change it. Pick a point. See, that's way, yeah, way too little. That's better. And we'll set its line weight. Show all. And there you go. Now you'll need to label those accordingly.
Yep.
And let's fix our lines. What do you want the, first of all, let's find the flood. And we'll set their line weights to default. And the stream edges. You have a stream line, but does that work? Yep. Okay, so there's your streamline. Let's see, did we get? Line type generation, yes, okay, good. So there's your stream. And the floodway boundary, what do you want those to? Let's see, what was that one that we? Was it this one or Styles that we had the other one on?
You had it as dots.
Yeah, but which, I want to look at it though. Which one of these was our good one?
Well, the one Styles was from Dewberry. The Gibson is the one that we did. It'd be up at the top.
All right, so, okay, that's a setback limit line there. That's not,
And I don't need to show that on this one because we're not processing.
Okay.
through the plan.
Yeah, so we could just use dots for that, which was the floodplain A. And now what about this one? Maybe. All right, let's see what that's going to get us. And I don't want. Oh. That needs to go on that. All right. That's the boundary. And I'm going to set that to be. Like so. There's that. And that is a line.
The dots didn't show up there very well.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting ready to fix here. Let's select similar. And let's bring them to the front. Let's put this so we can see the size of them. All right. Now let's look and see what that might look like over here when it's plotted. And let's go ahead and fix that color back. You have to take a look at this when you plot this. This hatch, we set it to a specific color, not by layer.
Mhm.
And I made it 252, whereas maybe that's a better color for it. 253, but go ahead and when you generate the PDF of this, look and see, because what, at least on my system, that winds up being too light to show up in the PDF.
Okay, well, we can do that right now.
Where is the? Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and do I'll let you go ahead and just generate a PDF and let's take a look at what it looks like. And make sure, because we get a little bit of non-fidelity in in the screen graphics of this?
I'm just gonna call this junk.
Yep. Seems to look. A little bit of streaking in there, but I think that's again because we're running Zoom. I think that'll clear up. But that may still be a little dark. So let's set this to be one more lighter right there. Save that. We'll plot that. And right there. Yeah, it's a little better. So you can label those now. So your flood zone, you see, we didn't, you know, that comes through here,
Right,
but we're not showing it. That's by design, right?
correct.
Same thing as this also parallels the river. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay, I've got something else you could help me with if you would.
sure.
This boundary down here. Well, this is interesting over here. I'll just show you this as an aside. Chuck Sager, who was my old business partner when I formulated Appalachian surveys back in 1978, surveyed this parcel after as a side job after he had gone to work for the Park Service. Karen Brill, when she worked for Dewberry, surveyed this piece, and the two boundaries don't match down here. So I've got to figure that out, which I haven't done yet. But that doesn't have anything to do with. So this is a highway here,
Okay.
and this is on the easement limit, and then this is in the center. And I need to. We're coming all the way around, and then it goes back to the easement limit again. And I need to show the highway and do an offset, but a lot of these are curves. And I always have trouble doing that.
All right. So let's see, first of all. Get your circles back now. Let me go over here for a minute. I'm going to. All right, so there is. That, so like that, yeah, see, that's an arc in there. So
Yeah.
now what is it that you're needing to do?
I'm needing to offset. I'm needing to offset this line 15 feet each side. I'm needing to offset this line 30 feet this way.
Okay, I see.
And then when it comes around to here, I need to offset this line 30 feet this way.
Gotcha. Okay. So,
And curves always drive me crazy.
okay. So what we need to do is really this line and I'm supposing that's a 15-foot right there. So this line goes 15 and 15, which should line up with this, right?
Right.
So if we offset this whole thing 15 feet. So if I'm just gonna offset that, I'll select it, offset it 15 feet to this side. Okay, now, just so we can see it better, I'm gonna change its line type to contain to continuous for right now, okay? So,
Well, it would be on a different layer anyway. It would be on highway layer.
sure, and you see that one all the way around like this. So
Yeah.
what we're gonna do is we're going to delete this segment. And let's see, where do we come back into it? Somewhere down in there. And so that I do not need. And that I do not need. So this line that we just, see, we we offset the entire thing, but then threw away the parts that we don't need.
Right. Okay.
Except, is this where it steps back?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I realized what I wasn't thinking about this right. The one that I've had trouble going with curves is when I try to do a variable offset, it won't do that.
That is correct. Yes, they will not, they have to be segments. So if you ever get a place like, if you ever get something like that, by the way, so if I've got this. Fix this a second. Line type, there we go. Let me see something here. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. Let's see. MSLT scale. ESLT scale. Also, okay. All right. So if you had something like this, I'll show you both ways. So let's just say this one is an arc. Okay. So when you do that variable offset, if I can find it, here it is. And you go line or point, so by line, and if I say this one, select side, so we'll go out this way, and we'll call that 20. Yeah, so you see how it doesn't. In fact, it should have walked me around it. It didn't even do that. Yeah, I just needed to, I just trying to put them in a couple separate different ones. So it did it, but it treated this arc part as if it were a segment. Okay.
Mhm.
So the only way to do this variably is Now, obviously in this one, when we do this one, go to the outside, let's say 20 here. See, now, when you're not, there it is, I was waiting for that. That's what I was looking for. So 10. And then 15. And then, let's say 8. All right, so that part works just fine, the way you'd expect it. But now what happens with this arc and the way you want to do that? So let's say I've got 20, 10, 15, and 8. So if I want to do that this way, this one's going to be 20 feet around. So I'm just going to have to do a standard offset. And I call it 20 feet. Select my entity and go out here. Okay, so that's got my arc. I finished that command, and now I'm going to erase or remove polyline segment. I'll get rid of this and this, and then I can just erase this one. Okay. And then you can do one of two things. You can repeat that process, do this one now at 10, and then get rid of all these others. Or you could, you could explode this figure so that you're only doing this part. You can break it into corners, but let's just leave it intact, and we'll just do this whole thing just like we've been doing with a standard offset. So 20, and then now it's going to be 10. And we'll pick that, and we'll go this way. And now we're going to get rid of this one, and this one. Repeat the standard offset, and we're back to, oops, 15. Offset 15. Select the entity, go out to here. Again, getting rid of the parts we don't need. And then finally, we do the same thing with an 8. I think was the number I used. Go from here out to here. Then get rid of this, this, and this. Then we're going to extend and trim. So I'm going to just type TR, hit enter again, and to extend. I hold the shift key and click, and then to trim these. And then you would do a join nearest and pick all those up. Now, that gets into a little bit of geometric ambiguity right in here, because this is 20 feet away from this edge, and this is, 10 feet away this way. At some point, it goes from being 10 feet away right here, perpendicular, to by the time it gets around to a radial component of 20, is this the right representation of that, or should this come on around? Of course, it never will. Yeah, I guess maybe it's not as ambiguous as I was thinking it was. Okay. So, but now there's another issue going on here too. This was your variable offset to take these lines off, and they're basically just plopping out the edges. and squaring up the corners. But now if you do a standard offset, and let's say we'll call that 15. We'll take this and go this way. Now this one is 15 feet away. So you see it's 15 this way. It's 15 this way, 15 and 15. But when you get to the corner, that diagonal is much more than 15, is it not? Okay. So now there's a way to handle that, two ways to handle that. One, with the Carlson tool, there should be a buffer offset. Here it is right there. And that would be 15. You select this, give it a side, and now you see it's 15 feet off of that line, because when you get to those corners, those have to be arcs,
Right.
right? So it depends on what, when you're doing setbacks and stuff, you typically have these square edges. But if you're doing true buffers, like a distance away from a wetland or something, then that actually preserves more usable land. So you have to, be aware of what you're doing. Now,
Right.
there is a variant called offset gap type. It was set to 0. And when it is 0, it makes those squared edges offset. When I did a standard offset of 15, and it put those square corners on them. So if I say 15 this time and do this, you see it's the gap type being 1 makes the arcs. Gap type being 0 makes the square corners. Now I show you that just to tell you, don't have to remember that, but just to tell you that that is a offset gap type. That's a CAD variable. It has nothing to do with Carlson. But Carlson is playing around with that behind the scenes when it differentiates between a standard offset and a buffer offset. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you'll just remember when you need to do that, to use these commands, you'll be okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's the exciting world of offsets. All right. So we've now offset that one. And
Let's go ahead and change that layer of that offset to highway.
all right, so there it is. But now you see where this end point is?
Yes.
Because when it originally offset this thing 15 feet, it pulled that segment back 15 feet as well before it went on and around.
Right.
So you would need to extend. Now we're going to select the boundary and then select, extend, select the boundary edges. Now select that. So now that goes up and joins right where that is, or at least close to it. Apparently that's not exactly 15 feet between.
No, it probably isn't. But
Yeah.
graphically, that's close enough.
Right. So that's that one. comes around here, goes around there, and then you would do the same thing, you know, figure out what, you know, because this, see that line, you know, maybe it goes up to there. You'll have to figure that out, but extend that line out to, you know, make it match as to whatever you want it to do.
Right, right.
Right, so that was now that 15 feet that way. You would do another standard offset of 15 feet and we'll go that way. And we will match that. And I find instead of breaking, I find it's easiest just to clip off the first segment you no longer need. So we come around there and then maybe, I don't know which is the segment. There it is on the curve. So if I take, so now I can get rid of that one and that. That one and did it. Yeah, I got rid of that segment earlier. Okay, so now there's that one. And then one more time, you're going to offset 30 feet. This to this. Again, matching that to that. We get rid of that segment. That segment. Let's see, where else did we go? We went there, 30 feet, so we don't need any of that. Is that correct? Yes, I think. All right, so then you've got this one. It comes down to here and it's close to, you see you've got that same little jog issue you'll have to resolve.
Right.
Okay. And so really the only way to do that is if you break this, if you break this polyline up into individual pieces, so that you don't have that step in there. So if you just want to offset this segment 30 feet, but you know, I mean, you know how you know enough about the geometry of what you're doing down there to be able to figure that out.
Right.
All right. And then wherever that either ends or continues, you know, do whatever you need to do on that. Okay. What else cooking?
I think that gives me plenty to work on for a while. I'm sure I'm gonna need your help on this drawing before I finish it again.
Well, that'll be my pleasure. Although I'm sure you've done some other work since last we met, correct?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I'm pretty proud to see how well you've done here, my friend. You picked this stuff up pretty quickly. Keep in mind, Mike, you know, and you know, even in our sessions here, you see me have to go back and look stuff up and figure stuff out and all of that. You know, it's not encyclopedic knowledge, it's just repetition over the years. And I've been doing this for decades. You know, so you've just sort of recently, relatively speaking, picked this up. Now I realize you use Terra model and stuff like that. Just you're not a complete novice on the computer, and you know what it is you're trying to do from a calculation standpoint. So that part's good. But I've known people that have just set out of the computing game for 10 or 15 years, just throw up their hands and walk away because it's too difficult. So like I said, I'm rather pleased to see how well you've done.
Thank you.
So now one thing I will remind you, things like if that's supposed to be with the wipeout, if that's your intent,
Well, and I've come back and I've changed it several times I've moved it to the front, and it
well,
changed back. I don't know why.
yeah, well, there's let's see, there's that block. It's part of it is because and see, there's the same thing you need to do there. So just,
Yeah.
you just need to make sure that well, there's a couple things could be going on. It could be something that's, some of these Carlson commands actually play around with the draw order because they rely on selection sets.
Oh, I know. I just thought of something I wanted to ask you about. These points here, I've been using that symbol as no, that's not it.
Oops.
Oops.
Which one? The cross, the cross one?
Yeah.
Just double click one of the crosses. Now go to
Okay, that's supposed to be a symbol for an unmarked point,
okay.
and I don't really like it.
Okay.
I've looked at the other symbols and I don't see anything that I like any better.
Right.
I mean, the solid one I've been using is to indicate a set.
Yeah, that's generally the difference between a set and a found is the solid and the open.
Yeah.
But like one of the things that I've seen people do before is just use a cross or an X. But the problem with X's is that you get into fence lines, and stuff
Right.
like that. So, and then sometimes with crosses or the plus mark, then sometimes that gets to be sometimes you just can't see them all the time, always. So I don't have any cartographic advice to give you on that.
Okay. And I'm gonna have to go back and change all of these to unmarked. But I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got plenty to work on for now. I'm gonna have, I'm sure I'm gonna need your help on this.
Okay.
How about showing direction of flow on the stream? Should I throw in a flow arrow or something?
You can, yeah. I mean, is it flowing generally north to south? Oh, wait, Michael, are we,
Yeah,
oh,
it's going
I
south
was,
to north.
uh, I was afraid we were rescaling all this in here. No, I see what it was now. So, all right, so is it generally flowing, north to south, did you say, or?
South to
No,
north.
south to north, because it flows into this, yeah, okay. So, I mean, you could, I would put it like wherever you put the label. I put it after that, but you've got a flow arrow thing like over here, right?
Right.
Do that, so yeah. And I would, you know, if it makes sense to put it on there, I don't know that. The,
Well, you should be able to look at the drawing and tell that you've got one stream flowing into another and it's not
sure,
going
yeah.
uphill.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. And that's, and it really, you have to ask yourself, does it add clarity to your mapping, or does it just put more ink on the paper?
Right,
Uh, So,
probably puts more ink on the paper, but let me think about it a bit.
yeah, yeah. So, and now I do it on things like, uh, like sewer lines and stuff like that, because sometimes they're actually even laid in at adverse slopes. So I just want to make sure that, that it's clear. And generally, when you're doing sewers and stuff like that, then you need to, uh, know which one's higher than the other if you're not necessarily putting down invert elevations. But so anyway, like I
I
said,
saw a neat tool online the other day. Well, actually, I saw a YouTube video of it. There's a way now of measuring inverts of the sewer without having to use what's generically in the surveying world called a shit stick, and or having to climb down into the manhole. You could do it now with a laser,
oh yeah.
and they're actually getting measurements which they claim to within the millimeter, but I don't think that.
Well, I would say certainly centimeter. I'd say your marketing department would swear to sub-millimeter, but,
Yeah,
but yeah, those are just basically laser rangefinders that they've got the resolution changed or improved enough to where they can get that done. With that, but, you know, trying to, of course, you and I both have paid enough dues in that department that, yeah, we could use something like that. But when you get these young surveyors starting out, they're going to be working for you. It's sometimes good to make them crawl down in one of those. So, no,
yeah.
now you can get in trouble for confined space entry violations and all that
Oh
crap.
yeah, you have to have all kinds of rescue equipment on site,
Yeah,
pull
so,
someone out of the frigging manhole.
yeah,
I can remember when I was starting out climbing down manholes that were 20 feet deep, and that's actually really dangerous
I know it.
because
Yeah,
of the potential possible lack of oxygen down there.
right. Yeah, I did that myself down in Houston when I first started working. And you get down there and, because it's so flat, you have to really, by the time you're trying to drain your sewer shed, by the time you get down to where you're going, it's like getting really, really deep.
Right.
And you have no natural relief to carry it. So you just keep deepening the pipes and get down there and they got roaches the size of your hand and they're all blind and gray like cave fish. So, yep, been there.
And what was remind me, before you leave here, what was the command that we used again to align the flood, the image with the
Yeah.
boundary?
Yeah, it was basically it's the align command, but it's not just the CAD align, it's on the edit menu. And it's go ahead and pull that menu down and look at where it is. It's on the edit menu. And you come down to align. There you go. And it's a 2D align.
Okay,
The standard align, and pretty much anytime you see the word standard means it's going to use the CAD version of the tool. And but the 2D align is nice because it will allow you to even, let's say you've gotten let's say you started a survey on 5,000, 100 foot, all assumed, 100-foot elevation, you set your benchmark, but so you carry all your elevations and you got all those distances and such. But then if you need to, at that point, transform everything you've done there, that so if you're doing the 3D align, you can have it bring those things that you've drawn in 3D it will match them up to those new elevations. Whereas this one being a 2D align will ignore the elevations, and it just brings the plan view representation of what you're trying to do into alignment.
Right.
So that's really the difference between, you want to use standard align when you want to bring the elevations along.
Okay.
All right.
And I almost never do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. So, yeah, and I've got a guy up here that I've worked with for a lot of years. I can't remember. Did you ever know Terry Seifers?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Name doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, he was head of the survey group for Gateway Engineers here in Pittsburgh. Now, there's no reason you would necessarily know these other consulting companies necessarily, but and then he was for Senate Engineering, and then he went back on his own. Now he's like you, but he went back out in the field and start, back basically a self and sole practice guy, after 30 some years in the office. But his grandfather and his father were both surveyors, and pretty prolific in this area. And he's got a whole room full of these old maps and atlases, and one I don't know exactly how he managed to get these, or if it was even kosher to do so, but one of the local courthouses, when they went to microfilm records, plat books and such, somehow he wound up with those original plat books.
Wow.
And I would have thought that even though they went to digital records and they scanned all those old records, I would have thought they would have still kept those originals. And
Yeah, I would have thought so too.
yeah, and I want, like I said, I wonder how kosher it is. Now, he didn't do anything underhanded to get them. I think he purchased them, or his dad, I think, did, is actually where they came from. But yeah, it's and they're really fascinating. There are some really fascinating old plats and maps and stuff that are to be found, as you know. So, but anyway, all right, sir. Anything else you can think of?
No, not at the moment. I'm sure I'll have something before the end of the week, but
Okay.
not right now.
Yeah, let me give you sort of an overview. I think I'm good. I'm good tomorrow and Friday. I'm good Tuesday of the following week, and then that's Thanksgiving week. So I won't be, Tuesday is really the only day I'm available there. We got all kinds of family coming in. But then after that, gosh, I'm pretty good down to the 14th of December. So with the exception of Mondays.
How's your buddy doing with selling training classes? Has it gotten a lot harder?
Well, I think,
Michael, was that his name?
yeah, Mike Sobel. I don't know that it's harder to sell the training. I think he's having a more difficult time. Just because, you are aware he had a stroke, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's the limitation, because I've dealt with a number of people that have had interest and questions and wanting to get training. And so I think there's, and particularly now that we offer it via Zoom, they seem to be more willing to do that than they are to travel. Although I really prefer the face-to-face myself, but
I
regardless.
do too, but I understand that why some people think it's scary. Some people don't have been vaccinated. Some people haven't been, and some people don't pay any attention to whether they have symptoms or not.
Right. Well, I mean, even beyond the COVID stuff, I think it's um, I think it's a convenience issue, and they're thinking, oh, well, it's all the same. I'll be able to get just the same quality of training by doing it over Zoom as I would if I were in the classroom. Well, I disagree. I get a lot more feedback when I can see faces and I can tell whether somebody's getting it or not,
Sure.
you know, but yeah, so anyway, just, yeah, whenever you're ready and have any more questions and want to pick anything back up, just always check in. And if there's something else that comes up that I'm unavailable, I'll let you know. But like I said, the last training that I had was tomorrow and Friday, and that's not going to happen. And then I had a
Oh, I have a stylistic question I wanted to ask you while I've got you here. And
Yeah.
I sent you a plat done by one of my local competitors a while back. Let me see if I can find it here. And I sent it to you. And there was something about it that I liked, and you kind of misunderstood me. You thought I was talking about the font that he used, and that wasn't it.
Okay.
I actually didn't like the font,
Okay.
but the one thing that he's got that I thought was kind of neat is his. Let me see if I can.
If you're trying to zoom it, hold the control key and you roll the wheel on the mouse.
There, I've got it.
Yeah.
I like there are two things I'm thinking about trying to emulate.
Mm-hmm.
And one is how he's got everything here, his title block in a block.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've been thinking about adopting a more
Like a universal sheet that would work in all cases.
yes, where I would basically have all of the symbols
Mm-hmm.
that I would need on every sheet, regardless of whether I used them on that particular job or not. And I've been frustrated in the past by seeing a symbol on somebody's plat and trying to figure out where the hell it is,
Uh-huh.
and not being able to. But on the other hand, I've been frustrated myself by looking at my own plats and seeing a symbol and not knowing immediately what it is, and someone having to call me and ask me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here you can see where he has. I've got something funny going on with the mouse now. It's not zooming in.
Or you holding the control key?
There.
Yeah. You're in Acrobat. You're not in Carlson. That's why.
Right. Right. Yeah. Anyway, I was, and some of it I don't like well, I don't like his fonts that he's used. I mean, he's done a pretty nice job.
Yeah, I mean, it looks nice and neat. I mean, but everything's italic.
Yeah, I don't like that. I kind of like that this is in a block, but I don't like the symbol block being right next to the title block. I kind of feel like the title block should be by itself.
Yeah,
And then the legend should be somewhere else.
right. Like a lot of times, of course, in that particular type of plat, it's more notes than it is mapping. So,
Yeah.
but generally, as a rule of thumb, what I do on design sheets is if there are notes that go on that particular sheet. Now, usually I'll have an entire page of nothing but general notes for the entire project. But then if there are notes that are particular to that sheet, I put them over on the right hand. I basically take, a quarter of the sheet width and on the right, and that's reserved for, all of my notations, and including, page specific legends and that sort of stuff. But anyway, there's, all that can be done. And in fact, Carlson has a nice legend feature that can be helpful to do things like, you could make one big giant master legend, and then come time to put the legend on your particular project from case by case, you can say, well, go through here and scan the drawing, see what's being used, and turn off the ones that are not included and turn on the ones that are, and then it'll rearrange them and scoot them up. Take this, like if you skip 3 different line types that aren't being used, it'll, collapse it down. But it takes a good bit of work to set it up the first time. And then it's always a work in progress.
Right. And for the jobs I do, I don't know that it's worth it. It's almost as quick for me to just label each individual point as to what it is.
Yeah.
Than it is to prepare a legend.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, of course, Carlson's legend on that will do not just points, but line work as well. So
right. Okay.
All right.
Well, I think that's it for today. And I do like the way we've come up with doing location insights better than the one he had, which is
and just be aware to try to figure out the closest nominal scale on that if you're going to need to put those in, because it's not necessarily ever going to be
well, this one isn't really 1 inch 2,000 feet. It's
right. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is they're not going to always exactly be those nominal scales. Just find out what the closest thing is, because nobody really checks that. But you don't want to do something like I found on one of my drawings for the railroad. I had some dimensions pulled off the track, and it was like 7.5 feet off this, and then it was like the next one went to 60 feet and then to 75 feet. Well, what had happened was that the dimension was reading architectural units instead of feet, so it was telling me how many inches it was. So it should have been 5 feet and 15 feet. But because the computer whipped it out there, it snuck under the radar, so I had to but luckily I caught it before it was submitted. So that's all I'm saying, is just when you have those things out there, just get it, close. You don't want to say 1 inch equals 2,000 feet when it's really 1 inch equals 50. So
right.
Anyway, all righty.
Okay, well, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. As per usual, I'll send you the link to the videos if it's helpful. If not, you don't have to look at them. So
they're very helpful. I have answered a lot of questions myself by going back and looking at some of those videos. I've actually made an index of the date of the video and what's covered in it.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. And that's what the intent is, so that you've got this as a resource. Okay.
Right.
All righty. Well, if I do not talk to you beforehand, perhaps I shall, but if not, have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too.
I shall. We got 19 people, including 8 grandkids, that are going to fill up this little house. Yeah. And I say this little house, it's not little until they all show up.
That's quite a group. That's something to be proud of.
Yeah, well, I did my work early.
Yeah.
Anyway.
How many grandkids did you say? 8?
8, yeah.
Wow.
So of course, we're a blended family, of course, but Diane's only got 2, so I've got 6. But you know, she has 2 kids. I've got 3 kids. Only one of her kids has children, had the 2, but then all 3 of my kids, one has 1, another has 2, and another has 3.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I think 6 out of the 8 of them are pretty darn good.
Yeah.
The two wild Indians, they're it's just an age thing. They'll grow out of it.
Sounds like you've done your share.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and they're the ones that live locally too, so I get to straighten out a few knots here and there.
Oh, good.
Oh, all right,
Look,
sir.
grandpas are 4.
That you bet. And it's always good because, you know, they get that confused look on their face from time to time, and then they get straightened out, and then it's time to go get ice cream.
Right.
So, all righty.
Okay. Take
Well,
care.
you bet. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Uh-huh.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.